Let's move on over to my cherry ripe, and it was kind of difficult to find one. Look, privacy's done really well this over the last probably Q4, so three or 4 months. The thing here is Monero, Zcash, Dash, they're all kind of part of the same family. Some look better than others, but you do want to be careful when one sector is just flying off the tree and Bitcoin and the larger space is not looking strong, it's looking weak. It's kind of like some big capital rotations here and underlying fundamentals going off. So you do want to be careful sort of hitching your wagon to this and just logging off. You do want to just kind of manage risk rather tightly. But the good thing about Monero here, and look, Monero is a thing where it's actually hard to get your hands on because of the delistings of it. But I'm using it more of a view of the privacy space itself. This is a really nice looking chart in the respect that it's had 1, 2, and now on the weekly we're coming back to stab at the highs again. So it's third stab. I kind of like this. Here's the thing, again, weekly closes are really important. You got the weekly running into the horizontal, got sold off beneath it. You don't want to be buying. You want to be waiting. Let's say this red candle reverses and closes above the white line. That's where you get really interested. So 473, 480, that type of region. Ultimately, we want to close above here to be uber bullish. We do have momentum waning off, but it could just be resetting down at the 50. This might come down a little bit here, could base around. But again, you don't necessarily want to worry about that. I think just having an alert above this core level, right there, add alert on XMR. If it does break out here, you buy, and then you start looking for much higher. So this is a really clean chart. And so you've just got such an easy resistance level that's all you have to worry about. And waiting for weekly signal, I think, is super important. Same with the downside. If we were to invert this chart, I'd look at this and go, okay, 1 hit, 2 hit, 3 hit. Monero is just weakening over time, looking really, really terrible. And you know what? This is Monero on a weekly. This is Monero going back to 2017. This is a much bigger chart. And if Monero breaks something like this, that's been doing this for 10 years, if it breaks this level, a 10-year level, it's like gold. It's been compressed in this big band. Overall, it's been grinding higher, but it broke out, I think it was at $2 grand or $3 grand. Once it broke that sort of 10-year consolidation pattern, it's just flying. It gains a lot of momentum. Okay, let's go on over to Sol, which is my one to watch. And so I've got something newer, which was Hype, and I've got Solana. Now, this is my one to watch, not for a bullish reason, it's for bearish reasons, because I hate this close. I hate how this looks. This looks terrible. Wick, up, trying to move higher. And the momentum, the sellers are just so strong that it's just pushing it down, and it's closed multiple weeks now beneath the yellow line. Yeah, and this is a good question that comes up in the mastermind. How many weekly candles do you wait for, and all this kind of stuff? And I think it really depends on how strong a weekly close is, through a level. But ultimately, if you get multiple closes below or above, it's hard to wait. It is really, really hard to be patient, buying or selling and waiting for certain signals. But if you see here, we've got, one close beneath, okay? Then the next one, you might have had a stop loss just above, wicked you out. Okay, well, you've waited for the close. You could have just seen that at the end of the week and gone, okay, well, that looks bad. And then you've got now this one. Now we're starting to flow down. I don't really see a situation where Solana rescues itself here. Just based on this, this looks like it's heavy and wants to at least come down to, it's pretty wild, but I think we're going to get Solana at $100. That's how it looks here, longer term. We could obviously get a relief rally back up to 142, that type of region, into this downtrend. It's tried a few times, but it's just completely failed. I think the most obvious movement here is probably does come up and rally to 130, but ultimately it comes down to the 200 week down at 202. Now, there's not much history here on this 200 week. I think you really have to go on horizontals and volume, which is around that 101. That type of region. The weekly RSI could be basing here. It could be bottoming out, and we're seeing, it just like Bitcoin just making a lower low before it does want to reverse. Or again, if we're in a bear market, we could be looking at these lower levels of 30. I'm not sure if we do have that, and it does often look the worst before things improve, and it does have to bottom at some point. It will look so bad before it actually turns around. But again, like most of these charts, I am waiting for these kind of levels to flip, and unfortunately they're much higher. You could also get an early entry somewhere in here, which would be 145 above the volume. We're cracking the downtrend, we're above the 10 EMA. That can be absolutely on the cards if you're looking to take some early entry risk, absolutely. But I think, as always, we just need to watch what Bitcoin's doing. If Bitcoin's back above 103, 104, 105, ultimately 110, but if we're back above 100K, I think that covers a lot of bases for crypto, and you get a bit of cover. And so you can move back in with some, some kind of confidence into the market. But right now, you have to have a bearish bias. There is nothing much to crow about here on these charts, so I'm just going to read it as it is. Hype is my danger zone today, but I reckon my one to watch in Solana is probably up there too. Hype, you just have a look here at the structure that this has rounded out, and that's exactly the word I want to focus on. Rounded out. This is a kind of a rounded distribution top, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, just constantly using this blue line, which is the 10 daily EMA, as resistance, and it keeps wanting to go lower. So I think this area is going to be like a magnet 21 for Hype. But honestly, these newer coins, this is the thing, when they come out, they're really, really hot and you can make a lot of money really, really quickly. But if the market goes into a more bearish mode and a bearish phase, the newer coins, there was another one I was looking at today, I think it was Syrup and some others, and even something like Sui as well. We just have to be careful that if this is a prolonged bear market phase, a lot of these newer coins will go through prolonged distribution. It just generally happens like that. There's this sort of big movement up in the market, and then there is a more prolonged distribution. The bigger coins, the ones that have been around for a while, the bigger projects, they've already had multiple cycles of bear markets and bear phases. So they've kind of gone through those really big distributions of their early token holders and whatever unlocks that they have. But there's going to be a lot of investors that are going to look to sell out, because if the big sort of driver behind, let's say, the Sui thesis was, Raoul Paul talks about Sui all the time. It's like, all right, well, this token has a fairly big, fully diluted valuation, but there's not many tokens currently in circulation. They're going to come out slowly over time. And in a bull market, these things with small circulating supplies are going to just ride really, really hard. But what happens if we're not in a bullish market? What happens if we're not in a bullish phase, a bullish crypto market? Then a lot of those tokens that are slowly being dripped on the market are going to be sold immediately. And it's going to put even more pressure on these things. So you just have to be a little bit careful. But Hype here, one of the newer coins, obviously per DEX, but I'm thinking 0.786 here, $20. I think we go lower though, maybe to $14.50. These things always go lower than you think.